If you're an XRP holder, one of your dreams and goals is to never sell your XRP and just get returns off of it, yield, loans against it, like whatever that looks like. There's not really any mechanisms just yet because regulation is not quite done, and then the banks have to pick up on all it and come up with products. There's not really any way to do that just yet. What I can tell you is this: as a group, the 25 people we have in the XRP Trust Fund Babies community, we feel like we're so positioned ahead of everything, where it's like like when we first started doing these lives, there's a question: should you get an LLC or a trust? When you really understand that we have people that bought Jake's LLC, considered it, even the ones that some of them that bought it still ended up buying these trusts because they realized they don't need the LLC. You don't need the LLC. Ripple is turning into a bank, a national trust bank. You have to kind of read between the lines. So do what they're doing. If you have the asset, kind of pattern yourself after what they're doing. Put it in a trust. Okay, good. But then you have to think about, this is part of where we feel like we're kind of way ahead of the game on this. A great asset to the community, which is Vegas Bam here. Bam, he's really gone all out. He gave Merrill Lynch. He's got a great relationship with Merrill Lynch for like 30 plus years with his family. Private banker, the trust division, all that good stuff. The investment arm of Bank of America, which by the way is a 10 plus year Ripple partner, main bank in the United States. We're kind of sitting with Merrill Lynch right now, and Bam says that Merrill Lynch will come on here and talk to us about what they can do for us after today. We'll come on, his banker will come on live and talk about it. But Bam submitted all of his trusts to Merrill Lynch, and they read all of them. Now you'll hear people on TikTok like the Wealth Wrangler, Stone. You all talk, and you even hear me talk about how you can defer capital gains taxes. That's not the goal of these trusts. It's just a provision. But just to kind of give you an example of where the rubber meets the road and where reality gets affirmed back to you. When BAM submitted all of our trusts to Merrill Lynch, and Merrill Lynch and Chase Bank does this too, they read these from cover to cover. There's a lot of stuff in these trusts. It's not just your one-page irrevocable trust an attorney gives you. These are dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of provisions and things like that. So when BAM did that, Merrill Lynch came back to him, and it says in these trusts, guys, it says there's a very specific provision about capital gains tax. I'm paraphrasing, right? But what it says in your trust is that we'll pretty much do what we want with capital gains tax. We may pay it, we may not pay it. We may pay it next some other year, we may defer it. That's up to us. Also, income taxes work the same way with these trusts. So that's what it says in there, right? That's conceptual. When a bank reflects back to you and they read the trust and they're like, your trust, we love your trust. We want to do business with you. A bank will not do business with you after having their attorneys review things. And if the bank's attorneys are reviewing things and they're like coming back to us saying, we really love your trust, the way that they're BAMWest company, the way that the trusts are positioned to support one another. Like example, your family trust sits at the top, and then your charitable foundation and your business trust kind of like sit at the base. It's like a trinity kind of thing. But the beneficiary of your charitable foundation and your business trust is your family trust. And when you have that system, it creates all kinds of leverage and all kinds of possibility with your assets and your money. And you can't even imagine what's possible once you have. Now, keep this in mind, a single trust on its own doesn't quite get the job done. It does allow you to put the assets in there so you're protective over a lot of things. But when you start to try to maneuver in the business and financial world, the system of trust is really what makes it go. Because again, when Merrill Lynch comes back and reads the trust and they're like, how can we help you? Like, and they're out, they know about crypto. It's Bank of America, it's Ripple. You know, it's like, well, just another layer of the branding. You really have to kind of let that sink in, that Merrill Lynch, which is the trust division investment arm of Bank of America, which is the Ripple partner, wants to do business with us. So you start to realize, I don't really need an LLC. I just need to kind of pattern myself after what, say, if you're a big fan of XRP, you should be a big fan of Ripple. Just do what they're doing. Watch what they're doing. I've been telling you guys for a year in my content, even before I was doing trust, do what the banks are doing. Think like a bank instead of a consumer. What are the banks doing? Banks are accumulating, and they're all trusts. Banks are trusts. Just do what they're doing. It's a banking asset. Protect yourself and get it out of your name, put it into the trust. And we were talking about this really early on, Cedric, when we first started doing this, 4 or 5 months ago. Can we actually create a bank with these trusts, with our assets? Like when at the appropriate time, can we become like our own micro bank? Why not? We can do whatever we want with these things. So that's down the road. But just kind of the idea of anything is pretty much possible with these trusts. And going back to the idea of the complex business trust and the Standard Oil and Gas Trust, that's what the Standard Oil and Gas Trust was, that Rockefeller wrote, or had written for him, I should say, that allowed him to corner 90 to 95% of the oil market in the United States in the 1880s. And then he just took over. He took over, and it was like they were able to circumvent the laws and things like that, do what they want. Even after they broke up and it became Exxon and Chevron and Amoco and Marathon, even after they broke up, they were still pretty much dictating their own policy. They just had to break up because, but here's another thing, guys. And I've got personal experience with these types of called divestitures. I worked for Bell South from 1999 to 2005, and then AT&T bought us, and then I worked for AT&T Bell South until 2011. But when I came into the company in 1999, there were people, the guys that I was working with, they had already been in the company for 30 plus years. So I would hear stories about how in, like, I think it was 1981 or 1982, the phone company itself used to be all across the nation, one company, used to be AT&T. Way back in the day, from like the 30s and 40s all forward. The phone company was one company until 1981-82, until they got forced to divest and become all the baby Bells. Well, then you had Bell South, Bell Atlantic, PacTel, you had all, New York Tel, you had Southwestern, South Central, you had all these little baby Bells shoot up, but they still pretty much operated the way that they wanted to operate regionally, doing what and still being fully supported by the government with subsidies and things like that. And then it pulled itself back together in like 2005, and AT&T started pulling itself back together. So there's real evidence of how these companies are like these big, I don't want to use the word conglomerate, but these big, huge organizations powered by trusts that because of what they're doing, they violate antitrust laws, they're forced to break up. But the oil companies were called baby oil companies too when they broke up. Chevron, Exxon, Amoco, Marathon, like those companies in Indiana, like Lucas Oil. All these companies, they still operated individually, but collectively, because they talked to each other, they still set the industry.